Hey, Brightmoor Kids, I'm Pastor Drew, and I want to welcome you to our series about one of the most extreme heroes in the Bible, Joshua. Now, you might be wondering why we say Joshua was extreme. Well, Joshua faced some extreme challenges with extreme faith. He lived for God to the extreme. How many of you have ever watched extreme sports? Anybody? Okay. I love extreme sports: skydiving, hang gliding, skateboarding, alpine skiing. There's so many different kinds of extreme sports. Which one is your favorite? Well, this series is about some of the extreme stuff that Joshua went through. And to help us learn about it, we have some extreme sports specialists. Check this out.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Band-Aid. I'm your extreme sports specialist, and I'm here to kick off an extreme series about Joshua. Let's do this. Joshua was an extreme guy who did extreme stuff. We read all about it in the Bible. And in this series, we're going to learn some of the most extreme moments in Joshua's life. I love extreme sports. I mean, anything extreme, I love it. Whether it's skydiving, downhill skiing, mountain biking, skateboarding, you name it, I love it. But before I do any extreme sports, I have to do a ton of preparation. One of the ways I can prepare my body is by eating the right food. And there is one kind of food that will prepare me for my next stunt better than any other food, and that's baby food. Now, don't laugh. I've seen some babies eat this stuff and grow 4 inches in 3 months. So I know that this food will prepare my body for this stunt better than anything else. Let's do this. Oh my word, that stuff is nasty. Babies eat this stuff? I mean, moms let their kids eat this stuff? Okay, so maybe baby food wasn't what I needed to prepare my body. But it is super important that I don't skip any steps when preparing for an extreme sport. You know, some people think that they can just jump straight into an extreme sport or a stunt without doing any training or prep at all. But I'll tell you, that's just not the truth. It takes practice, training, and preparation. In your lesson today, you're going to learn all about how Joshua did some extreme preparation of his own. Now, it wasn't about what he ate, it's about where he spent his time. He knew if he wanted God to use him in the future, he needed to spend time with God today. In today's lesson, you're going to learn all about the importance of being in God's presence and letting Him prepare you for what He wants you to do. Well, I better let you get into it, and I better get on to my next stunt. Woohoo! Well, this is Band-Aid, and I'll see you next time as we learn an extreme lesson about Joshua.
Joshua went through some extreme preparation. He didn't just jump right into leading God's people. Spending time with God and gaining strength and wisdom from Him is super important. It is especially important if you want to do big things for Him in the future. In today's lesson, you're going to learn all about how Joshua did some extreme preparation by spending time in God's presence. Right now, it's time to find out what you gotta know.
What you gotta know? What you gotta know? What you gotta know? What you gotta know?
Hey there, kids. I'm Big Ray, and I'm here to tell you what you gotta know. I am so excited to be starting a brand new series called Joshua, Extreme Hero. Today, we're learning that if we want God to use us tomorrow, we have to spend time in His presence today. So every time today you hear somebody ask you what you gotta know, you tell them, I gotta spend time with God every single day. Whoa, hold on. Every day? I had too much stuff to do. I gotta go to the store on Monday. I gotta get my tire changed Tuesday. I can't miss my haircuts on Wednesday. I got goat yoga on Thursday. And I have to walk my dog Fluffers every Friday. You are busy, doing a lot of random things, but you're busy. However, you still have to spend time with God daily. If you want God to do big things in your life, then you have to spend time in His presence daily to give you the strength to do what He needs. So every time today you hear somebody ask you what you gotta know, you tell them, I gotta spend time with God every single day. That right there is what you gotta know. I'm Big Ray, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
What you gotta know.
Nobody goes by Rosaria anymore, so you can just call me Artiste. Now, I am in the middle of a wonderful painting right now. The thing is, my hand is starting to cramp, so I need to take a break. While I take that break, why don't you help me with today's power verse? Unfortunately, last night I was painting the power verse when I started sleepwalking, and I started using pictures instead of words. And now I've got no idea what it's supposed to say. So I need your help to figure it out. Let's take a look at it. I heart your sanctuary. That doesn't make much sense. It can't be heart. Perhaps I read your sanctuary. I don't think that's it either. What do you all think, boys and girls? Ah, yes! Love! I love your sanctuary, Lord. The home. I don't think that's it. The building. No? Oh, what could that be? What's another word for a building? A place. Ah, yes, place. The place where your glorious presence dwells. What in the world does that mean? Maybe sound it out. Dwells. Dwells! I bet that's it! Where your glorious presence dwells! Psalm 26:8. That's it! I'm so glad you could help me. Now, let's make sure that we don't forget it. So, everyone stand up and let's say it all together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I love your sanctuary, Lord, the place where your glorious presence dwells. Psalm 26:8. Great job, everyone. You can all have a seat. Now, I've just finished a wonderful painting to show you, but before you see it, you must know, I am preparing to enter some art into a new exhibit called Art to the Extreme. Every one of these pieces has something extreme about it, whether it be the style, the colors, the theme. I guess you'll just have to wait and find out. Are you ready to see the first piece? Me too. Here it is. I call it Dancing to the Extreme. Ta-da! See, this lovely lady here is dancing over a crocodile pit. Fantastic job. I can't believe it. I could never do that. She's incredible. You are my hero, lady. All right, thank you so much for all your help with today's Power Verse. I'll see you later, boys and girls. Bye-bye.
Today's Bible story is found in Exodus chapter 33. We actually begin our story with Moses, the leader of the Israelites. Now, you've probably heard a lot about Moses. He was a powerful leader. He was actually the one who led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. He received the 10 Commandments from God on the top of Mount Sinai. But leading God's people is a really hard job. Moses had to go through a lot of difficulty as he led God's people. He was not only their leader, but he also served as their judge. He would listen to the problems that the people had with each other and try and settle them in a fair way. This would take an emotional toll on his mind and his body. Moses knew there was only one place he could receive strength and wisdom needed to lead God's people. So Moses would regularly go into a place called the Tent of Meeting for a prayer time alone with God. The Bible actually says that when he was in the Tent of Meeting, Moses spoke to God face to face. Can you imagine how powerful and cool that would be to speak to God face to face? When Moses had received strength and wisdom needed to lead God's people, he would leave God's presence and go back to the people. The Bible does say something interesting about when Moses would leave the Tent of Meeting though. Exodus 33:11 says this, "After Moses would return to camp, but the young man who assisted him, Joshua, the son of Nun, stayed behind in the Tent of Meeting." Wow. Even after Moses would leave the Tent of Meeting, Joshua would actually stay there and wait in God's presence. Joshua must have known how important it was going to be for his future to be spending time with God. He was developing the habit at an early age that would carry on with him for the rest of his life. He waited on God and spent time in God's presence. He wanted to gain that same wisdom and strength that Moses had. I think that this was a very good idea. Waiting on God is always worth it. In your lesson today, you are going to learn the importance of waiting on God in His presence. You are going to learn that if you want to do something big for God tomorrow, you must be spending time in His presence today.
Stories of the Bible. Moses and the Tent of Meeting. This is Moses, who was an Israelite who grew up in the palace of the Egyptian Pharaoh. When Moses was much older, God called him to take his people out of Egypt with the help of his brother Aaron.
Let me hear God.
After God showed his miraculous power in Egypt, he led the Israelites through the Red Sea and towards the Promised Land. They followed God, who showed himself as a cloud by day and fire by night. While they were in the wilderness, God and Moses would talk in a place called the Tent of Meeting.
Morning, Moses. Morning.
Moses would take the tent and pitch it outside the Israelite camp. Everyone who wanted to ask God for something would go to the Tent of Meeting outside the camp. Whenever Moses went out to the Tent of Meeting,
See you in a bit.
all the people would watch Moses until he disappeared inside. As he went into the tent, the pillar of cloud would come down and hover at its entrance while the Lord spoke with Moses.
Wow!
Inside the Tent of Meeting, the Lord would speak to Moses face to face, just as one speaks to a friend. And because of what Jesus did on the cross, we can talk to God as if we were talking to a friend too.
Good things come to those who wait. Have your parents ever said that to you? Doesn't it make you mad sometimes? I used to get so frustrated when my parents would tell me that. It just seemed like an excuse to not give me what I wanted. I like good things, but I don't like to wait. I want it right now. Nobody likes waiting. Waiting in line stinks. Waiting on Christmas to get here stinks. Why can't it be December right now? Waiting to be 16 and be able to drive a car seems like it takes forever. Waiting is not fun, but many times it's very necessary. And sometimes what we end up getting at the end of the wait makes the waiting worth it. Today, we have been talking about how Joshua had to go through a season of extreme preparation before he could become the leader of God's people, the Israelites. He wasn't born ready to lead an entire nation. He had to be prepared. Today, we have been learning one of the most important things he did to prepare to be the leader of the nation of Israel. Remember in our Bible story how God would speak to Moses face to face, just like you would talk to your best friend. Turn to the person next to you and look at their face. Now, imagine that this person is actually God himself. How cool would that be? Well, Moses got to experience exactly that. But remember where Joshua came into this story? Exodus chapter 33 verse 11 says, "Afterward, Moses would return to the camp, but the young man who assisted him, Joshua son of Nun, stayed behind in the tent of meeting." When Moses was done talking to God face to face, he would leave and go back to camp. But Joshua, his assistant, would not leave God's presence. He would stay behind and continue to spend time with God. We don't know how long he stayed. We just know he stayed longer than Moses. He just couldn't get enough of God. Joshua must have believed that good things come to those who wait. Boys and girls, we can learn a big lesson from Joshua. Joshua knew that he needed to spend time with God if he was ever going to become the man of God that he needed to be in order to eventually take over for Moses and lead God's people. Joshua understood.
Joshua knew that waiting on God was going to bring huge results. It was in the waiting on God, in his presence, that Joshua learned not to depend on himself. No, he knew that he needed God's wisdom and strength. He didn't have what it took to accomplish God's plan by himself. He knew he wasn't wasting his time by spending it in God's presence. Also, Joshua understood.
We find strength in God's presence. When we spend time with God, he gives us strength to do his will. He gives us strength to face the challenges of life. God's presence is where we find strength to do what God wants us to do. We spend time in God's presence because we know that on our own, we are weak. But in his presence, we become strong. And the final thing that Joshua understood is,
if I want God to use me tomorrow, I must spend time in his presence today. Did Joshua stay in God's presence because he knew he was going to be the leader one day? Or did Joshua become the leader because he stayed in God's presence? We really don't know, but in his presence at the tent of meeting, God was teaching Joshua patience, faith, trust, courage, and confidence in the presence of God. Joshua was being prepared to do what God had for him in the future right then in God's presence. It's simple. If you want to learn to be a carpenter and know how to build a house and things like that, who are you going to spend time with? Yep, you would spend time with a carpenter, of course. Okay, how about, if you want to learn to be an artist and paint beautiful paintings, would you spend time with an artist? Yes, exactly. You would spend time with an artist, learn everything you can learn about being the best artist possible. In the same way, if you want to learn how to become the man or woman God wants you to be, you will spend time with God. Not just a few minutes a week, not just at church. You have to be like Joshua and be willing to wait in God's presence. Make time for him, pray every day, make God in charge of you and make you into the person you want to be.
I love your sanctuary, Lord, the place where your glorious presence dwells. Psalm 26:8.
Welcome back, kids, to today's Rewind Review. I am your host, Connor. I know it's been a while. I really missed you guys, especially you, Phil. So here today we have boys versus girls. Kicking it off with the boys team, we have Cameron, Devontae versus Monique and Danielle. We are getting right into the action. Here we go. Question number 1. What you gotta know today? Boys to count. 5.
I gotta spend time with God every day.
every single day.
Every single day. Very good. Rolling right on to question number 2. What was the name of the Israelites' leader?
It was Moses.
Yep,
It was Moses. Boom. Question number 3. Who was Moses' assistant?
Joshua.
Correct, Joshua. We're gonna call that first question a tie, so we're squared up right now, 1-1.
All right.
Rolling to question number 4. What was the name of the place Moses spent time in God's presence? Cameron.
Tent of meeting.
The tent of meetings. Very good. Correct. Question number 5. After Keyword after Moses was done meeting with God, what would Joshua do?
He stayed longer in the tent and prayed to God.
He did. He stayed longer at the tent. Very good. Question 6. According to our lesson today, waiting on God is never a blink of time.
Waste.
It is never a waste of time. Never a waste to wait for God. Always remember that. Always remember that. Question 7. According to our lesson today, we find blank in God's presence.
I hit it for you.
Oh, thank you. Strength.
Strength. We find strength in God's presence. Very good. Question 8. According to our lesson today, if I want God to use me tomorrow, I must blank, it's 2 words, in his presence today. I'll reread the question. Okay, we got it.
Spend time.
Yes.
I made it too complicated in my head.
If I want God to use me tomorrow, I need to spend time in his presence today. Question 9, it's a true or false. Kids can gain strength from God to do big things for him. Boys. True. Yes. If you trust in him, God can do great things, big things through you. Question 10. Are we ready? This one is the tie-breaking question. Whoever wins this takes home the prize. Where was the power verse found from?
Psalm 26:6. Yeah. 26:8.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Psalms 26:8.
Psalms 26:8. You guys got it. Phil, I know you got it too. Thank you all for joining us here today. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. I hope you guys played along too. We'll see you next week.
Pardon me. What you gotta know?
Thanks for joining us on lesson 1 of our Joshua series. We're gonna continue all the way into June, so stick with us because the story of Joshua doesn't end here. You know, we just got introduced to him, and we'll hear so much more about how he was an extreme hero for God. And because of it, we're gonna learn a lot of lessons from him. So thanks for watching our video, and we'll see you next time.